Ghosted by high school students at an after-school club. That was my experience at the beginning of this academic year. I was sitting in my classroom at the designated time, waiting for members to arrive so we could brainstorm ideas for the school literary magazine. But no one showed up. When I inquired as to the students' whereabouts, I discovered a huge obstacle. Students were under the impression that a magazine could be published the same way a social media post could be shared. A magazine to them was little more than snapping some photos, scribbling some notes, and then pressing send. There was no bonding over creative ideas. In fact, there was no human interaction because, as far as the students were concerned, they shouldn't have to meet in person. And there was no enthusiasm for my proposed changes, just wariness and resentment that I was expecting them to meet face to face on a weekly basis. I knew when I signed up to be an advisor for this club that one element of this endeavor would be selling copies of the magazine to our target audience, but I never predicted that I would have to sell the idea of a literary magazine to the very people who had signed up to create it. Now, pointing fingers and grumbling about this younger generation being governed by the algorithms on their cell phones seemed like a no-brainer to me in the beginning. But I found that directing my frustration at this familiar culprit only led to more frustration. When I asked students why they were so against in-person meetings, I heard responses like, "It's a waste of time, and we just prefer to work alone." And I get it, their system, their way of doing things before, it was easier. It was virtually risk-free. Solitude can be meaningful, and as somebody with a propensity for introspection, I sympathize deeply with the desire to be alone. But I didn't see students embracing their solitude the way the poet Rainer Maria Rilke encouraged his protege to do in Letters to a Young Poet. This kind of intentional solitude, it strengthens our sense of selves, our autonomy, our grit, and our ability to concentrate. In my own life, my strongest friendships have been when I have bonded with someone over our shared creative interests. But it took me a long time to overcome my own social anxiety. As you all can see, I'm still working on it. When I was in high school, I was a very timid girl. I barely spoke to anyone. I just read novels, doodled in my sketchbook, and wrote short stories. Then, in the 11th grade, I transferred to a small art school. This was a turning point in my life when I finally started to make friends. I met other creative kids, some of them just as withdrawn as I was. And I have been forming bonds with other creative types and gaining inspiration and a sense of belonging ever since. Think of a time when you truly connected with someone. Maybe you shared personal stories with a dear friend late into the evening. Maybe after a concert or a play, you discussed its impact on you with another person. Maybe you explored with your book club the kinship that you felt with one of the characters. Through connections, we find fulfillment and self-realization. If we stay in our comfort zones, well, we may never connect with people, and our work may never make an impact on anyone. The students who were vehemently opposed to meeting face-to-face They dropped out of the club. I couldn't convince them to stay. But there's a silver lining, because moving forward, we had a group of dedicated students who possessed the courage to adapt. At our first brainstorming session, I encouraged students to list whatever interested them. Cats, video games, creative writing, the moon, mental health, foods they would like to try. Our next step was packaging these ideas in a way that might appeal to a target audience. So perhaps a survey could showcase the most popular video games, accompanied by an analysis of why those games appeal to teenagers. Perhaps we could study cell phone features to evaluate how much convenience and value smartphones can really add to our lives. We could partner up with another club, Big Sibs, a club that gives students tools to become more emotionally mature mentors and role models. We could ask the members of Big Sibs to pass along advice on how to relax, how to balance work and play, how to love yourself, and how to cope when life just seems too demanding. By publishing these little snippets of advice, we could really help the people in our community. We have made huge strides since the beginning of this school year, when simply getting together seemed unfeasible to some. Bubbles have been burst. Students are reaching out to their classmates and their teachers for their input and story ideas. Interviews have been conducted, and they are being fashioned into intriguing profiles that shine a spotlight on inspiring people in our community. As I explained to students in the club, expatriate teachers such as myself, we try new things when we move to China and travel around the region. Anybody can adopt this adventurous mentality. Students interested in writing reviews of movies and music and restaurants made plans to broaden their horizons and thereby sharpen their skills of discernment. The students' willingness to try new things, as evidenced by their reviews, might encourage our readers to be more adventurous too. One student decided to try her hand at some social commentary mixed with journalism, debunking myths and shattering stereotypes that all cats are evil. Now, I have a cat, and this is actually a very realistic portrait of him that I drew. He bites me and scratches me, and he probably wishes he were bigger so he could maul me to death. So I am a little bit skeptical of her pro-kitty position, but in the spirit of open-mindedness and adaptability, I'm willing to alter my long-held notions about cats. After all, there is room for growth in all of us, students and teachers alike. The cynicism that I had and my tendency to blame cell phones for all of the world's problems have been replaced by excitement and hope for what we, this humble little after-school club, can accomplish. I see glimmers of inspiration in students' eyes as they pitch their ideas. I know we're on the right track now, that students want to be part of a team, that they want to build community. Now, change can be really exciting, but change is also scary, especially when you are asked to put your skills to the test. Skills such as adjusting your writing style to fit different features of the magazine, meeting deadlines, collaborating with your peers, appealing to a target audience. But the biggest, bravest, boldest act of all is writing as a means of self-expression. The courage and the vulnerability to put yourself out there and be vulnerable should never be minimized. It is really, really hard, but it's a skill that we should all try to develop. Our vision for the school magazine is more inclusive than before. Gone are the days when we would see articles that were only written in Chinese. To reach a wider audience, all of our content needs to be bilingual, written in English and Chinese. No longer are people going to submit their contributions that they all made in isolation. We as a club made a vow to expand community involvement. So if anybody in our school has something that they would like to contribute, artwork, photography, poetry, a personal essay, they are highly encouraged to submit their work. Now, as we are gearing up to publish our first issue of the new, revamped, community-oriented Lava magazine, our students' hard work is beginning to pay off. The care that students are putting into creating quality content has earned them a sense of pride and a stronger community. And if they're anything like me when I was in high school, they will carry that pride and those vital connections with their peers for the rest of their lives. As for us, their audience, we will have a stronger community with stronger connections, because that is what creativity does. It forms bonds. It strengthens community. Thank you.